This is AI Jim Ross, and you're about to listen to Booking the Territory, the unprofessional wrestling podcast. This show is strictly for entertainment purposes only. Don't be a slapdick and get offended by anything on this show. And if you do get offended, that's a you problem. Before I throw it to the fellas for another banger of an episode, shout out to all the BTT patrons, including the largest Patreon contributors of the show, Disrespectfully Classy, Marky Blassie, Mike Childry, Joe Ice, Good Old Justin, and Mike H. Now, enjoy the show, Slapnuts.
Hi, everybody. This is Jim Cornette, pro wrestling legend, and you're listening to the Booking the Territory Unprofessional Wrestling Podcast.
This is the artist formerly known as Daryl Van Horn, James Mitchell, the Sinister Minister, and I'm here to let you know I would rather slam my cock in a car door than to miss the dulcet tones of Hard Body Harper, my illegitimate son, on Booking the Territory podcast.
Woo, Messi, this is professional wrestler Jimmy Valiant, the Boogie Woogie Man. Tell my people, my brothers and sisters, don't you dare miss Booking the Territory. Oh, yeah.
This is a one-man gang. You're listening to Booking the Territory Pro Wrestling Podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to this week's episode of Booking the Territory, the unprofessional wrestling podcast. For today, we are covering WCW Saturday Night on TBS from February the 20th of 1993. Once again, if you're listening to this on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button on the video. It does definitely help the channel grow. I don't care how much you hate the show or love the show. Put multiple comments. It makes Harper very, very happy. He's not as salty, especially how he can get lately when he's telling people to grow up. And it does help the channel grow. Speaking of Harper, Harper's not here. He's going to be with us on the pay-per-view that will drop the night or two after this airs. I'm sitting here with Doc, working things, moving things around so we can get Harper on the pay-per-view on Patreon. Doc, let me welcome you in. We've been talking now for 30 minutes because I was having laptop issues.
Yeah, so hi there, Menace. Doing well today. You didn't, I don't know if you asked or not. Harper is off being a grown-up. He's at work today, so he's trying to live his credo and be a responsible adult. And we're trying to move things around to make sure that you guys get him on the pay-per-view, because that's where we all put on tuxedos and get it rolling. Yeah, your computer's a problem today. I told you I think it's how the man makes sure that every once in a while they throttle things down and let you know that they're in control. Do you believe that?
I think these things have a useful life to them. And
planned obsolescence.
That's right. I think they have a point at which it's like no matter what you do to try to make it work, it's going to start to fail on you. No matter how much you try to repair it. This thing's been in the shop several times. I'm just thinking to myself, it's just about reached the end of its or getting close to the end of its useful life, and that's how it works. So yes, okay. Planned obsolescence. Same thing with cell phones. They start acting crazy after a while. Yep. Either the battery won't hold the charge. You know how it works, or whatever it is. It starts running ridiculously slow, where it's not even worth it. I mean, my cell phone's getting to that point right now. I can't even take calls on my cell phone unless I have an earpiece in, because if I just hold it to my ear, like you normally would hold the phone, I guess the speaker is broken on it. So it's either got to be on speaker phone or I have to have an earpiece in. So
that doesn't sound like a bug. That sounds like a feature.
You know what? I don't mind, because I don't like taking cell phone calls.
Right.
So but every now and then Harper calls me when he's driving, and I'm like, shit, I got to go find an earpiece, because I don't just carry one around with me. So I can take his call.
If I call you, which is rare, you're like, what's up? And I'm like, no, I needed to explain something that's easier than text, because I don't, but I mean, my phone calls are so rare that you automatically assume the worst, which is good. We've set up our relationship to be a healthy working relationship. So We're going to talk about February 20th, 1993 today. This is the go-home show for SuperBrawl. I wanted to bring something up here because I get the feeling that we have some listeners that think about this stuff as much as we do. And so I wanted to say something here. We're not going to make any announcements today. There's nothing to announce, but we have been talking. We have been thinking about what happens in WCW when pay-per-view frequency increases along with clashes. What's the model look like? How do we get them all recorded? We want to make sure that, look, we're recording today without Harper, but we firmly try the best we can to make sure that Harper's in the booth every possible time because it's just so much better with him. I mean, Mike and I are superstar professionals, but we understand that we're the best three-man booth in the business. So we are talking about, what does it look like to make sure we have Harper around for more things in the future? There's more pay-per-views coming up. We don't have any answers yet, but we want you to know if you're sitting at home going, God, what are the guys going to do? We're going to do something. We just haven't figured out what that is. And just to let you know, out there in the Army land that we're thinking about it, we're already thinking about Nitro. And we had a conversation this week about when Nitro starts, the angles are still on Saturday night. So we're still talking about, do you start at the first Nitro or do we kind of have to stay with Saturday night until it kind of swaps out as the B or C show? We're thinking about all this stuff. And that should make all of you feel good. It means that we're talking about stuff that's going to happen 2 years out. That means we're still committed to a future of this show. Tomorrow's not promised, but we're counting on it. Anything you'd like to add to that? I mean, like I said, we haven't made any decisions, but just wanted to let people know we are working on it.
Well, the context of it is, I don't, you didn't mention this. The context of it is there's going to come a time where you have, for us, there is a time when there's monthly pay-per-views and then there's the weekly shows. So it's like trying to fit in an extra 3-hour show every single week becomes a challenge with our work schedules, children, all that good stuff. Even though my children are getting older and I don't have as much as you have because yours are younger. There's just a challenge of trying to fit in getting in another show. So like normally, like what's happening here, we're doing this show on a day where we normally wouldn't record so that on our normal recording day, Harper can be on for the pay-per-view. It gets really hard to squeeze those extra shows in. And I know people go, oh, but it's just an hour and a half, 2 hours of a show. Like I told Doc this week, let's say you have an hour and a half show. Well, we got to watch it. So that's an hour and a half. We got to record it. That's another hour and a half.
Or
I got
more.
to post-produce it. That's another hour and a half at least. So each show becomes a 4.5 hour to 5 hour excursion. So I'm not complaining. I'm just kind of laying out the logistics of it. So what Doc's saying is you get to a point where, you got 3-hour nitros and you got a 3-hour pay-per-view, or you got 2-hour Saturday nights and you got, a 3-hour pay-per-view and you got a clash in that same week. It would get hard to constantly fit in an extra show somewhere else in our week. It just gets hard.
And we are in a different place, in all honesty and transparency with the Army. We're in a different place than we were with Smoky Mountain in our lives, where we don't have the flexibility to do 2 shows a week like we did.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Remember,
Harper
Harper was between jobs there, so he was off and could record with us on Fridays.
It wasn't just that. And then the pandemic hit at the end of it. So we were literally sitting at home for the last 6 months of Smokey, which, I mean, that was only 6 months of the 3-year, 9-month run. But there were a lot of different circumstances around that time where we had more time than we do now. So look, the show's not going nowhere. I don't want this to be a gloom and doom podcast.
No, this is a good thing. This is a good thing. We're figuring out what it's going to look like so that we can continue forward. And we're thinking about it. We're trying to figure out what works best for y'all, what works best for us. And just know that, this is kind of one of the reasons I think we're talking about this is, we're switching to the Bischoff era and things are going to change in the promotion, which kind of necessitates a change for us. But
Yeah,
we haven't settled on anything. We haven't made any decisions, and whatever decision we make is going to be done to get Harper involved more and keep rolling. So we're trying to figure out that. That's not so there's no major show announcement or
no,
stupidity. This is all just, hey, if you're sitting out there thinking, what are they going to do when this happens? We're thinking about it too. We're going to figure something out because we always do.
The other thing, I mentioned this to you offline. Mikey and DFW and a few other people had mentioned this as well. When Nitro first starts, Nitro's obviously the I don't know how to say this right. It's obviously a great show, a live show, but it's not immediately the definitive A show, even though it is the A show. It's like, because there are still things, because Nitro doesn't start being a long show, it's only an hour. There's still a lot of stuff that happens on Saturday night that needs to be accounted for. So you can't get in everything on the quote unquote A show that's not really an A show. It's an A show because it's a live show. But to me, Saturday night, I feel like it continues into a certain, I don't know that time period. I don't have it committed to memory right now, but you'll get into Saturday nights where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, Nitro was great, but I mean, there's still a lot of shit happening on Saturday night that is important. So I think that's the other thing to consider too, is there's just going to be a lot of different stuff that we have to account for when we're talking about recording all these shows, which we love doing. I mean, obviously we wouldn't, look, you don't do this shit for 9 years if you despise it and hate it. You do it because you enjoy it and you enjoy the camaraderie with your fellows, with your boys, that, especially Harper when he goes off on rants and tells people to grow up, is he's got a Pac-Man alarm clock.
Well, you and I were sitting here just talking about, we don't get a chance to, like, I think people think that we're like, I haven't physically seen you in over a year, and we were waiting for your computer to get going. Well, other than that one day, that's right. But we just started talking, and it's like, oh shit, we better get started, because we don't get that opportunity a lot either. I had something else I was going to mention, but when you get old, you start to forget shit, bro.
No, you were just going to say how we was like just catching up before we started recording, because a lot of people don't realize this. When you work and then you got kids, and then we literally, it gets to the point where when we do this show, we have to hurry up and do it because we have so many other commitments outside of us doing the show. So like, I mean, there's times where the reason you're always, not just you, but the reason we're always ready to go when we're supposed to start is because you got 2 screaming kids outside. You got a wife who's waiting on you just in the evenings. And then, and people go, what? No, it's when that red light goes on at 7 o'clock, whatever time it is, you're on the clock, not just for the show, but to get the show done in this quick hour and a half.
I would say that 50% of the shows we do on the night we record with Harper, one of 3 people poke their head in this door and go, how much longer?
Exactly.
And it's not in a bad way, but there's a clock ticking. And when we talk about our lives, we're not looking for sympathy at all. But no, this is, we're blessed, and being a blessing. We're trying to let you know, hey man, if you're out there hanging and banging in the community and having these things, we're doing it too, and we understand the grind that everybody is under trying to get through this thing every day. But like last week, here's a good example. Wednesday was the Doc's wedding anniversary, and you go, oh, whatever, and all this, and so Harper missed the show for Lady Harper's birthday. So here's what my wedding anniversary looked like. First day of school, so both kids start back to school, and Mrs. Doc goes back to teaching. First day of school and soccer practice. So Mrs. Doc and Latrell get home at 4:45. He and I leave for soccer practice at 5:10. So he had 25 minutes, and we got home at 8:45 at night. He's got to shower and get ready for school the next day. Wedding anniversary, you see your wife for about 25, 30 minutes. Now, you go, what's the problem with that? We can make jokes. All of that feeds into That's why you get somebody knocking at the door when you're recording, is because we're always on the go. And I'm not saying we're different. I'm saying I imagine most of you folks are on the go too. That's when you listen to us. Just know we're still going to figure this shit out.
I couldn't put it any better what you just said. So,
All
are
right.
you ready
Well,
to talk Saturday night?
let's talk
All right,
Saturday
hold
night
on
because
a
this is
second.
the
Let
go
me
home
share
show,
this.
right?
Yeah, it's the go home show for SuperBrawl. And of course, the computer's lagging as I try to share this video with you. So
Now,
hopefully,
here's the reason we want to make sure we switch over to Nitro immediately. It's 1 hour.
say that again. You broke up.
Here's the reason we want to switch over to Nitro immediately when it starts. It's a 1 hour show.
Yeah, the problem is it becomes a 2 and then a 3, and then before you know it, you're like, oh God.
That's because Uncle Eric can't help himself.
Well, it wasn't his fault.
The North Tower is telling us we need content.
Oh boy. All right. Well, I'm getting the video version going right now as it delays. Oh my God, this thing. There it is. It's running.
I feel
now.
like you fixed Harper's computer and it spread to you. You need to go get a test for that thing.
I wouldn't say I fixed Harper's computer, but
you need to go get it
all I did
swapped.
was-
Have them stick a Q-tip in one of the ports and make sure it doesn't have an STD.
That's nice.
That's
All right,
nice.
so
That's real classy,
talking-
isn't it, Doc? Come on, what's wrong with you? Grow up. I mean, what are we doing here, Harper? I mean, come on, I tune in and I want to hear some classy wrestling talk. And yo, what the fuck, Harper? I want to get some classy wrestling talk, and you're talking about fucking STD test and sticking a fucking Q-tip in your goddamn computer.
That's fucked up.
Yeah. Hey, Harper.
Thoughts and prayers, dog.
Thoughts and prayers, dog.
Fucking loser.
All right. On that note, we can get into Saturday night on TBS as Doc does his Dman impression. February 20th, 1993. This week's episode was taped February 8th of 93 at Center Stage. I talked about that last week. This is the second half of the taping from that day. As a quick reminder that was mentioned last week, the important notes from this taping are as follows. Bill Watts resigned as VP of Wrestling Operations for WCW on February the 10th of 93. So this is the last taping that he was the VP of Wrestling Ops. And then on the 12th of February, Ole Anderson was announced as the new VP of Wrestling Operations, and Eric Bischoff was announced as executive producer of all WCW television on that same day. So this, again, as I said, is the last taping that took place under Watts' leadership as the VP of Wrestling Ops. On that note, Doc, anything before I go to this opening promo where we are going to hear from Bill Watts?
No, I mean, we've been hard on Watts, but the wrestling product hasn't been all terrible, and we'll see what happens.
So let's go to this promo now. Watts is with Jim Ross and Larry Zbyszko as they open the show.
Jim Ross and Larry Zbyszko, along with Cowboy Bill Watts, welcoming you to this big 2-hour broadcast. And Larry, we're just 24 hours away from SuperBrawl 3.
Tomorrow night's the night, Jim, and I cannot wait.
Bill, it certainly seems like the intensity level has really gone over the top. A lot of disqualifications, a lot of out-of-control action in recent weeks right here on this broadcast.
Well, you're right, Jim. We're trying to regain some control of it. But I think when big events are on the horizon, like SuperBrawl 3, that people just get caught up in the momentum. And I'll guarantee you one thing, there's a lot of things that need settling, and I'm glad I'm going to be there, and I invite everybody to join us tomorrow night at SuperBrawl 3 with, of course, Sting and Vader in that dangerous strap match. This is a collision between two immovable objects.
Bill, we've also had a great deal of controversy in recent weeks from Smoky Mountain Wrestling, Jim Cornette and the Heavenly Bodies. What's the bottom line on that?
Well, I'll tell you what, he came in and tried to run roughshod, and I sure appreciated their commissioner, Bob Armstrong, his strong stance. And Cornette, I want to say one other thing to you. The Heavenly Bodies may be a corporation or anything you want to call them, but at tag time tomorrow against the Rock and Roll Express, you're going to name which two guys from the Heavenly Bodies are going to be in the ring, and we're going to get rid of the other one.
Bill, another great match that the promoters have signed. The main event here today will be Ricky Steamboat, one half the Unified World Tag Champions, against Flying Brian Pillman with Lumberjack Rules.
That's right, Lumberjack Rules. That's something that hadn't been done since I've come to WCW here on television. I think it's a fabulous main event. I'm so excited about it. Lumberjack Rules, that could get wild.
Fans, it's going to be a tremendous 2-hour broadcast, just 24 hours away from SuperBrawl 3. We got a 6-man tag match to kick it off. Let's go up to Gary Capetta.
All right, Doc. Thoughts on Bill Watts' announcement here about the bodies and rock and roll and Cornette having to name which two guys are going to wrestle?
Of all the things that happens with Watts, this is the one that I'm most disappointed in, because I would have loved to see what happens 6 months down the road if Smokey is still involved here. And I don't know that it helps Smoky Mountain as much as it helps this show, to be honest, but I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think
when you're running Hickory, North Carolina, and you can't get Knoxville going, there's a limit to how much growth potential you have. But when you're bringing out folks that people remember, and we like the product of Smoky Mountain, I think it plays well on Saturday night, and I would have loved to have seen it.
And I think it works different than the WWF partnership that Cornette had. Because it's Watts and because of the working relationship that he had with Watts, I think it's just a totally different thing. I don't know. I mean, I've heard Cornette say ultimately he thought, well, SMW would be the feeder system for BCW. I mean, yeah, sure. But like in my eyes, I just wonder if it would have, beyond that, what it looks like 6 months to 9 months down the road if Watts is still in control. That's not me saying I wanted Watts still in control, because by God, when you read what he freaking said, it's just like,
what did he say? Can you read that out loud?
No, we'll not read that. But I'm saying I would be curious to know, like you, what if 9 months after the fact it's still going on, like where it led? Because I mean, there is, like, you think about the talent that, look, Flair's about to come back. We know Arn did appear in WCW. When you think about the talent that WCW had, like what could that have done and how that could have helped Smoky Mountain coming in? And actually, I'm like you, it makes me wonder, does WCW benefit from it? Because I mean, look, they got Tracy Smothers, they got the Rock and Roll, obviously, like they're the Dirty White Boy. There's a lot of talent over in Smoky Mountain Wrestling that I firmly believe, Corny's going to end up having to replenish his ranks, if you ask me, a lot more than he ends up having to, because of they'd all go to bigger paydays in WCW if the partnership would have continued. That's just my opinion. So, it would have been an interesting thing if it would have continued, but it didn't, and it's basically ending at SuperBrawl. So there's that. Any other thoughts before we go to this 6-man match?
Nope.
We go to Scott. This is a weird match. We go to Scotty Flamingo and Tex Slazenger and Shanghai Pierce versus Bagwell, Regal, and Too Cold Scorpio. It's a very odd combination of guys, with Regal on one side and Flamingo tagging with the two guys from Texas. I really wasn't into this. I don't know. It was a really odd combination. What did you have from this?
Nothing says Texas Outlaw like Scotty the Body Boy.
Yeah, boy.
Boy.
Jesus Christ.
At 4 minutes in, are they chanting "We want Rick"?
They may have been. Do you want audio from it?
Let's try and see it if you can.
Let's see. Yeah, hold on.
Nice counter move there by Flamingo, taking his larger opponent off his feet and down, and a good nip up.
You can hear it vaguely. We want Flair. Yeah, I heard it.
At one point, JR says Scorpio has hang time like Jordan or Dominique. I like that reference.
Yeah.
Man, Dominique was, when you look back, Dominique's, I think, underrated.
the dude was a freak of nature, and he was underrated. I told you that time I saw him in the mall in Atlanta.
I saw him play in Reunion Arena in Dallas, and the speed and ferocity of those dunks coming down the lane, and it was vicious and violent.
You see, again, walk right past me. To see a guy that large,
yeah,
and to know he could move as fast as he could and was explosive as he could. And if you're watching the video version of this thing, the video keeps freezing. I can't control it. It's just freezing on its own. That's not me. It is remarkable, like the athlete that he was.
Can you go to 904 and see if we had it? We'll try it, but it seems like there was a little miscommunication here from the wrestlers.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay.
Scorpio goes to drop kick either Schlesinger or Pierce, and I don't think somebody didn't know the drop kick was coming. Let's just say it like that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like
it was a botch. It wasn't horrible, but it definitely was a miss.
Yeah, so I feel like this and maybe some of the whole show is kind of an innings eater instead of a let's get pumped for this thing, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think you're on to something with that.
12 minutes in, I feel like Bagwell takes a nice bump here. See if the video version will comply. Make it work, Mike.
I got no control over it. It's freezing up on me.
Who do we call to fix the? Who do we call to fix the internet?
Well, it's not the internet.
Is it Elon? Do we need to get Elon on it?
Don't get me started on that idiot. Let's see. What? No.
He went over. I said it's a nice bump.
Oh, I thought you meant like a botch. Yeah.
No. He took a nice bump over the rope. I mean, it looked tough.
Yeah, one of the Texans pulled down the top rope as Bagwell was hitting the rope, and he went over. He did it right too. He hooked it. I mean, it was perfect actually, the way he took it.
Bagwell's good for his age, you know. He really is.
Bagwell, I love Bagwell. He's like he was like, to me, he never could be the guy, but he's a guy that you definitely could have in your territory or promotion, and as long as his mind was right. I don't want to equate him to Chris Adams because that's not it, but drugs really do screw up a lot of shit. You know what I'm saying?
That's why we do them. Wait, what?
Yeah. No, we don't do anything. But anyway, yeah, I like Bagwell. It's just one of those things where it's like, well, pills will do you wrong, man. That's all I'm going to say. All right. Any other thoughts? Because we're watching the finish now.
Cover the finish. I have a thought.
So Bagwell makes a hot tag to Scorpio. One of Scorpio's kicks took off Pierce's head. All 6 guys going at it. Scorpio hits Flamingo with a super kick. Then eventually that twisting 360 off top rope for the win. And Scorpio was flying everywhere. And Larry Z called him Air Scorpio at one point. Go ahead. What were your thoughts?
I just thought it was weird that Scorpio didn't use the 450 to win.
Wait till I think it's Slamboree 93 when he does that and his right ass cheek lands on Benoit's head. It looks horrendous.
And then we've got years of saying, I wonder if that's the blow that caused the problems.
I mean, it was more than just that, obviously, but it when you see it, it's like, oh my God. You immediately think, holy shit, this is not good. Speaking of things that may or may not be good, we are going to go to JR, who is interviewing Sting, who is impersonating Magnum and Dusty from 1985 with a mink coat. Let's listen to what Sting's got to say.
For you tomorrow night, the biggest challenge, I think, in your entire career.
Well, let me tell you something, Rossi. I'm dressed for the occasion. I am dressed for the White Castle of Fear, but I don't want to talk about the White Castle of Fear right now. I want to talk about Van Vader. I want to talk about how Van Vader has ruined careers. He has ended careers. And one case in particular, Van Vader, when you took some poor kid who was trying to work his way up the wrestling ranks and make a name for himself in one of his very first matches, and you could have just beat him, but you did more than that. You broke his back. The big power bomb, and you broke his back. And then I think about how one time you broke my ribs. And as I start thinking about this, I just want to tell you one thing, Vader. It's not going to be if. It's going to be when. When I hook the Scorpion Deathlock on you, Vader, I'm going to start cranking on that thing so hard. Your bones are going to start bending, Vader. And then I'm going to start thinking about how you broke the kid's back, and I'm going to squeeze harder. Then I'm going to think how you broke my ribs, and I'm going to squeeze even harder. And then I'm going to think about how you whipped me like a dog on national TV. And then I'm going to squeeze so hard, Vader, that your bones aren't just going to bend, they're going to start popping. They might even break a little bit. I might even smile in joy. And I'm going to ask you, is it going to be no pain, Sting? At that point, it's going to be yes, pain, yes, pain, yes, pain, Vader. Then I'm going to let go after I work my way out of my little frenzy. And I'm going to look down at you on the mat, and I'm going to pick you up, all 450 pounds of you. And I'm going to work my way to every single turnbuckle, all 4 of them. Each one, I'm going to hit it. No pain. Number 2, no pain. Until I hit number 4. It's going to be yes, pain. Yes, pain, Vader. Yes, pain. Yes, pain. Yes, pain. Yes, pain. Yes, pain. Think about that, Vader. Yes, pain! All right.
Doc, he's going to crank on that thing, Vader, and squeeze harder too. His words, not mine.
Yeah, I'm going to do that too when we get off of recording here. That's why we can't record so much, is we're too busy.
Oh my God. I actually didn't hate that.
I'll be honest with you, neither did I. I thought he went too long. I feel like if that had been a minute and a half less, it would have been really effective. But I also don't know that that's his fault. Somebody's got to produce this shit.
Yeah. It went a long time. But I mean, it wasn't terrible. It was pretty good. For Sting, especially, it was pretty good. Just the choice of words now in 2024. You know, I'm going to start cranking on that thing, Vader. I'm going to crank on that thing, and I'm going to squeeze it
Vader's
hard.
like, wait a minute. This isn't what I thought White Castle was.
Right.
I wanted some tiny burgers in a strap match.
Oh, boy. Okay. Well, so Sting seems to be ready for SuperBrawl 3, which, again, you can hear us review on Patreon at tinyurl.com/PatreonBTT. You will not want to miss it, because that was... I'm, you haven't watched it yet. Maybe you have in preparation of it, but it was a hell of a match, and I'm looking forward to discussing that with you and Harper. The White Castle Affair strap match, which, again, the name is crazy, but the match was excellent, because those two have great matches. Again,
planning to watch it today.
You can hear us.
No, let me be clear. I'm planning to start it today.
There you go. That's a better one, because nothing gets watched in one day by me these days. It takes a long effort. But again, tinyurl.com/PatreonBTT is where you can watch us review, not only watch, because we do have a video version of it every time we do a pay-per-view in the main shows. But you can watch or listen or do both at tinyurl.com/PatreonBTT SuperBrawl 3. Not only SuperBrawl, but all of the clashes we've done, which is 22 or 23 at this point. All of the WCW pay-per-views are there, with the exception of Starrcade, because that's on the free feed. Doc, on that note, let's go now.
You can even crank it real tight while you watch it. I don't care.
Whatever you do while you're listening or watching is your business. That's don't, as long as you're not committing crimes.
That's right. Well, yeah, obviously.
On that note, Vinny Vegas is destroying Brad Anderson in the ring here, and it went too long, but Vegas does hit Snake Eyes and wins. I don't have anything else from it, Doc. Did you?
They did say that Brad Anderson is Gene Anderson's son. And I am ready for Benny to go be Diesel.
He's gotten better. I
Okay.
will say that in his time here.
Okay.
But I mean, nothing about him at this moment would make you think star.
No. Other than size.
That's not an insult to Kevin Nash. I like Kevin Nash. It's not an insult to him. It's just nothing about the way they've booked him at this point with the various gimmicks would make you think star.
No.
Between Master Blaster to Oz to, you know, Vinny Vegas, the Vin Man, nothing screams star. And again, I like Kevin Nash. That's not me, you know, trying to bury him or anything. All right, Doc, let's continue. I'm not playing this unless you are demand me to. We get another Max Payne promo. Do we need to listen to this? Do we for the people? I mean, it's only about a minute.
I don't know. You went from I don't want to play it to I feel like I need to play it. I just was going to say, he keeps saying, I'm going to say don't play it. He keeps saying that somebody's coming tomorrow to the pay-per-view named Norma Jean, which, if you know, we're paying attention here, that's Marilyn Monroe's real name.
Right. It's her shooting name.
So again, are you punk rock? Are you metal? Are you amateur athlete? Are you in with Marilyn Monroe, who's been dead for years? What are we doing here? We're just slapping shit against the wall.
Bruh, the gimmick, the best thing he does there is when they put him with Cactus. And even then, it's Cactus who gets that over. I don't know this dude at all. And I will continue to say this character is stupid and it bores the hell out of me. Like, think of the things that you don't want to watch on TV, whatever type of program that is, whether it's Real Housewives bull crap or some reality TV that your wife likes or aunt likes or whatever. That's what this is to me. There's nothing about it that makes me want to go, oh, I'm invested in this character. Like, I'm invested in this person. And which is the antithesis of wrestling. The reason you have someone, Cactus is a perfect example. Cactus Jack, you were emotionally moved in some way or another, whether you hated him or liked him with his various gimmicks. You wanted to see what that dude would do next. This dude,
I want to see what happens next after he's off my screen. So let's keep going.
Yeah. Keeping going, we're going to go to Paul Orndorff now, who's got a promo he's going to cut. And I'm going to play it. Here it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow night in Asheville, North Carolina, exclusively on pay-per-view at SuperBrawl 3, one of the feature matchups will be Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff and Cactus Jack in a match where falls count anywhere. And anywhere means anywhere in or out of the building.
And it also means that anything goes. You know, a lot of people out there seem to think that this pin falls anywhere is Cactus Jack's match. But I'm going to tell you something, Cactus. I'm going to dissect you like I would a frog. I'm going to show those people out there exactly what Mr. Wonderful's all about. I've watched you, and I've beaten you every time that I've stepped in the ring. Falls count anywhere in the building. It might end up in the balcony. It might end up on the street. It might end up in the bathrooms. I don't know. But I can tell you one thing, Cactus Jack. Mr. Wonderful's coming with both barrels loaded, and he's coming for one reason, and that's to prove to you, WCW, and all those 8-to-5ers out there, that I am the better man.
Well, fans, we're going to see Cactus Jack momentarily. Let's go back up to Gary Capetta.
You could faintly hear some Paula chants going. That's going to be a thing in the next several months, chanting Paula. But I just think Orndorff is still over. I think he cuts good promos. I mean, that was nothing earth-shattering, but I thought it was effective. Doc, what were your thoughts?
He's a tough guy cutting a tough guy promo. I'm like, man, I started thinking what he and Cactus might do to each other, because he might pile drive Cactus on the floor, and there's
For real. Did I lose you?
Yeah,
What happened?
I'm back. I don't
Oh,
know.
were you interrupted? Did somebody walk in and
Oh no, I'm here alone.
okay, just making sure. All right. So any other thoughts on Orndorff?
No, he's good. I'm ready.
So then we go to two ECW alumni in the ring right now. Cactus Jack versus Mustafa Saeed. Orndorff's on commentary, and he ain't scared of having the Falls Count Anywhere deal at SuperBrawl. And Orndorff is talking about pile driving Cactus on the floor. And imagine how that would go. I know what happened when, was it one of the Batten twins that got pile drove on the floor in that Smoky Mountain town? He's still there.
He's still laying there.
That dude didn't get up. Remember, he sold that for like 20 minutes. Yeah. All right.
I don't
thoughts
think
on the match.
I don't think the people know what to make of a babyface Cactus yet.
I think they do. I mean, he got over when he came in and cleaned houses with the shovel. You're also in center stage. I don't know. Sometimes the center stage crowds are weird. Sometimes they get loud reaction. Other times it's kind of faint. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to judge a center stage crowd. It's like, because there are times when you're like, God damn, these people are really into this. They're dancing, they're having a great time, and then there's other times they're dead. So I don't know. You're saying that because of how they react in this match?
I just think we think of Cactus as being endearing to the general public. We think of him through today's lens. And he still has a lot of work to do to get to that point in his career. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. Is like we look at him as the Mick Foley we know today. These people aren't looking at him that way. It doesn't mean they don't like him. It's like he's got 4 more years of work to do to get to that point.
No, you're on to something with that. We think of him as the endearing Cactus Jack that we know today, who's by all accounts a kind soul and a good human being, and we think of it like that.
But he's still got to go to EC Dubs.
Right. I mean, this is only 93. He's still got to go to ECW. He's still got to have Jim Ross basically beg for McMahon to give him a job, which is wild when you just think about that in itself. That JR just like, just give him a chance, Vince. And Vince's like, he's so disgusting and ugly. Oh, man.
You know what's disgusting, don't you?
There's many things in this world that's disgusting. What are you going to tell me?
I would think taking a dump on somebody's head is disgusting.
Oh, yes, of course. Boy, the irony there, right? That's like Harper telling people to grow up.
Right, exactly.
You're allegedly taking a dump on people's heads, and you think Cactus is disgusting. That's neither here nor there. Let's continue. Any other thoughts? Cactus beat Mustafa pretty quickly.
Yeah, he's going to beat him quick there.
So we go to the SuperBrawl Control Center with Eric Bischoff. We see several video packages of the events we have covered several times on this show, with Vader beating Sting up, and Vader's got the leather strap, and he's literally hanging Sting. Bischoff then throws to Shivani to go over the entire card. You know, we got Vader versus Sting. We got Wyndham versus the Great Muta. The Rock and Roll versus the Heavenly Bodies. Cactus versus Paul Orndorff. That's not the whole card, but that's many of the matches. So, yeah, it's going to be a good one. I can't wait to talk about it on Patreon with my two best buds. tinyurl.com/Patreon. BTT is the only place you can listen to us review it, or you can watch the video version that we do as well. Doc, any thoughts on the SuperBrawl 3 Control Center?
I have none, but I agree. I think they built a card here, and that's again why we said last week, you don't need all the bullshit to get here. Let the product do the talking.
They have built a solid card, and again, that White Castle Fear vignette, one of the dumbest things we've ever seen on this show, and we've seen a lot of dumb shit. But the match, just wait for it, everybody. You're going to enjoy listening to us review it and watch it as well. We go to Vader versus Chris Sullivan next. Larry Zbysko says Vader has put more people out of work than Sears and Roebuck. I really thought that was hilarious, because I don't know what the reference was to that in 1993, if they had a lot of layoffs at that point. But I started my career with that company, and many, many, many years ago, almost 30 years ago now. And when I think about it, it's ironic because it's basically almost no more. There are a few, I guess, repair shops and things like that around the country. Maybe a couple of stores still open, but not many more. So the reference kind of hit home more for me in this day and age because I know Sears' history after 93 and beyond versus in 93. So I don't know what happened in 93. Did you have any idea what he meant by that?
I thought it was one of two things. I thought it was either what you just said, like Walmart probably leaning on the malls, and that starts the flow of people out of those kind of, anchor stores in the malls that were down at the ends of the hallways, and or that Sears at one time was the one that put the mom and pop shops out before Walmart did. But I thought it was probably Walmart putting making Sears lay people off. Remember when Sears was like a big deal?
I mean, look, I don't want to get into my entire work life, but I did not work in the department store for Sears, but I had a job in one of their credit sites, and which there were several around the country. And Sears was a big deal at that time, still in the late 90s, early 2000s. And then I don't want to get into the history of the mistakes that they made, but there was one major mistake.
I thought their big mistake that led to the downfall was hiring you.
Not quite.
Oh.
Anyway, long story short, it was a slow but sometimes quick decline, as declining as Chris Sullivan was in this match against Vader, as Vader is barking at him as he lays on top of him. That does not look good, but continue, Doc. But your reference made sense, has put more people out of work than Sears and Roebuck. I get it, yeah. So they were almost not like Walmart, but they started as a mom and pop and then were putting mom and pops out of business and had a great run and were very popular. That may have been the reference from Larry Zbyszko.
Here's what you need to know. Whether it's a mom and pop shop, Sears, Walmart, Amazon, people are going to waste their money on stupid shit constantly throughout the ages.
Ain't that the truth?
Ain't that the truth? I mean, separating people from their money is a pastime, the American pastime.
Churches do it. Wrestling does it. Like everybody does
Government does it.
Government does it. Don't get me started. I hate everybody these days.
Everybody wants what I have.
Bro, I was putting the trash out yesterday, and I'm putting the trash out on my curb. I don't know where this fucking sales guy comes from. He pops up out of nowhere. Hey, sir, how you doing? I said, bruh, keep it fucking moving. I ain't interested. Oh, I'm not one of these solar people. I said, I don't give a shit who you are. And I said, get to stepping. And I walked in my house. Bruh, I am so mean to door-to-door salespeople, and I hate myself for it because I know those people are trying to earn a living. But, bruh, I literally got a sign on my door that says, no soliciting. And these suckers will still knock on your shit. Oh, I'm not trying to sell nothing. Bitch, don't fuck with me.
I can't be mean because people are out working, and
I know I try not to, but this dude is real aggressive. The way he rolled up on me.
I don't care. I don't care what you're selling. It doesn't, I mean, if you're handing out 20s, I'm not setting the precedent. Because I think they all have this like online chat where they go back and they're like, there's a market there,
right.
You know? Right. So then everybody shows up. I ain't buying nothing on it from door to door. I don't care. I just don't care. But I can't be mean. I can't.
No, Doc, I need you to understand. I don't know where this dude came from. It startled me at first, which pissed me off.
Hi, fella.
Because, dude, he came out of it was like I rolled the can out and put it, and I immediately.
You don't know what it was he was selling.
Bro, I ain't got a clue. Just the way he yelled and was not even 6 feet from me.
Yeah.
No, bro. Like that
You're making me nervous.
He didn't say something from 20 feet away. He got way too close before he yelled, "Hey, how you doing, bro? What the?" And it triggered me. I can't lie. Now,
yeah. Did you hear the recent story Corny told about somebody driving from like 3 states away and showing up at his house?
I heard the YouTube clip. Bro,
I'm on Corny. I mean, I know Corny went
Dude,
too far
he's
with it.
lucky he didn't get shot. I don't remember
Man,
what Corny
remember
said. He was like,
you were younger?
"Motherfucker, take that backpack and get your ass off my porch."
Yeah, but you
Corny. Go
remember
ahead.
when
I'm sorry.
I mean, I lived in a college town. We all lived walking distance to each other's house. People were knocking on my door all the time. Shit, we had people that wouldn't even knock, just come, and we were all just, 19, 20, 21, 22, and we all basically just used each other's apartments as staging grounds to like where we're going to go that night or whatever. There was all kinds of activity. Man, I am like old people. You know how your grandma are like, who's calling this late at 8 p.m. and they get all suspicious? Man, my doorbell rings these days. I'm like, who's there? What do we do? What are we doing? Wait, what do we do? What are we doing? Who could it be? It's the boogeyman. I know it.
I don't get like that.
I just there's nothing good happening when somebody rings my doorbell. You're
No.
because even if I don't have to deal with a human, you just delivered a package that Mrs. Doc bought. So that's a problem too, a different problem, but it's still a problem. The only person that and so like we have, kid friends or parents come over, dropping off. We know that's coming. So we have the door open before the doorbell even needs to ring. The only person that rings my door that I'm okay with is my yard guy.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Because he usually has a question, and I'm happy to answer it, and I like him.
You killed me having a yard guy, but okay.
So we'll get into that another time.
Nah, just go ahead.
No,
I don't have anything against.
So
My
here's the thing.
problem is,
I told you. For people who haven't heard this story, when Latrell was like 3, somebody broke in our backyard in my shed and stole all my lawn equipment. And, obviously the moat takes up the large percentage of my lot, but I have grass to mow. And we were about to have the second, my daughter, and we had a little one. And I was like, man, I spend a lot of time. These mowers are trash. They die after 2 years these days. And the guy was already in the neighborhood cutting my neighbor's yard, so I talked to him. I would love to switch this over and make Latrell get out there, but when would he do it? Just like we can't record because we're always gone supporting their activities, he's always gone doing activities. So it makes sense to keep a yard guy, and he's cheap, but yeah, it's weird. I don't like paying people to do shit for me.
I don't know. I think you pay him well. You told me what you paid him, and I think you pay him well. Which actually, I think is great that you pay him well.
Well, I try to be,
because I know what some of these guys around here that knock on my door want, and I'm like, here's why. I've said this a million times. I can't see paying somebody to do something that I can do on my own.
100%.
And two, the price that they give me, I would feel bad paying them that. I would feel like I need to pay you more because I know what this heat is like out here in this damn ridiculous area we live in, and I know how hard it is when I cut it. So you telling me you only want X amount of dollars, I feel bad. Like I almost need to give you, like for me, I'm like, I got to give you double that, and I just can't see doing that. That's why I do it on my own. But that's why I say you pay your guy well.
The other thing is, he got a reputation not only for doing their yard, but then starting to do my yard. So he does a couple of yards. So he's able to come over here now, and double up, you know.
Yeah. All right. Again, I don't have anything against door-to-door salespeople. But when you start on me, you might get yelled at. And the second thing, when I tell you no, that's not
the
an
other thing.
invitation to keep talking, dude.
I am not the classic example of a resistor or somebody who doesn't know what they want when you took sales training. There is literally nothing you can say to overcome my resistance.
There is nothing.
There's
nothing.
Free doesn't even do it because I don't want to take free shit from you. So there's nothing you can offer me that I want. I'm also, unlike I imagine Harper, I'm impervious to commercials. I might learn about a new product from someone and I'll ask a shitload of questions and do a shitload of research. And I'll ask you, hey, you ever use this? I do that all the time.
Yeah, you do that.
But I am not going to sit there and go, oh, I haven't had some Popeye's chicken in a while. I need to go get some. Commercials don't work on me.
All right. On that note, let's get back to the show. Vader defeated Chris Sullivan pretty damn easily. Beat the piss out of him, then painted his face, and then leather strapped him after. Did you have any thoughts on that?
And then he whooped a bunch of jobbers that came out.
Sure did. Beat the hell out of him. And then he cut a promo. I thought it was meat and potatoes. I thought Singh's promo earlier was more effective. Did you agree? Or?
I thought Vader got lost a little bit.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Stumbled.
And then we watched Max Payne versus Keith Cole, and Harper laughs at that guy's mullet because it is kind of ridiculous.
This was a who has the worst haircut match.
It really was. Payne puts Cole in that armbar and wins, and it's called the Painkiller. It's the name of the move. And
that's also
because was watching that match.
Well, let me help out here. Try.
Oh,
about that time, Judas Priest. Sure, all of our brothers out there like, what the fuck is he talking about? Judas Priest. The metal band had sort of a career resurgence because they kind of went soft in like the mid to late 80s with like Turbo. And man, I wish Harper, because he'd start singing Turbo Lover right now. I guarantee you he would. He's done it on the show before.
Of course he would.
But anyway, they kind of went soft for a couple of years, and they had this big. Well, they needed to crank it real hard.
I tell you, you're talking about Judas Priest right now. Chris Zoncha is literally cranking to it real hard.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that. So he'll know this. They brought in Scott Travis from Racer X. There you go, Zoncha. And they made themselves a kick-ass record called Painkiller. And it came out right about this time, or within, 92, 93.
Gotcha.
And they had a resurgence because they had returned to their roots and were kicking some serious ass, if you will.
That makes sense then. Okay.
Just trying to tie all the pieces together here.
So how did Painkiller the song go? Can you give me a little tune or two?
No, because he sings super high and screeching, and it's super fast, and all the black people will be like, so here's the thing. All the black people and the Mexicans and all of our other people that aren't white, non-whites, think about the most crazy, like high piercing scream and just fast racket noise with no bass in it, just all treble guitars.
Okay, so you're saying how high pitched it is. I think the irony of you saying how high pitched it is that I find is funny is Harper does nothing high pitched. It's I rode the truck. Like he's got that deep voice. So you're saying he's gonna sing it, but there's nothing that Harper,
he's not gonna let that
high pitched.
He's not gonna let that stop him.
I mean, like I think of the Give Me a Break with Nell. He's like, He's like singing. He's like, "Give me a break. Oh yeah, I sure deserve it." He's singing it in that deep voice, and that song is nothing. There's nothing baritone about that damn song. Give me a break. I sure deserve it. I mean, so when you said he'd sing it, I'm like, all right, well, give me some tunes from it. And then you're like, no, it's too high pitch. I can't do that. Okay. Oh boy. All right. Come for the wrestling talk, stay for the shenanigans. On that note, Max Payne wins. Fast forward over here. We're going to go to a promo now from Steve Austin and Brian Pillman. They got something to say. They're sitting in front of the fake or maybe not fake lockers with Tony Schiavone.
Welcome back to WCW Saturday Night. You know about the animosity between these two men and, of course, the World Tag Team Champions. But later on in the hour, it will be a lumberjack match. Flying Brian against Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Steve Austin.
Well, it's going to be a great singles match, Schiavone. But how come it isn't a great tag match? I guess they have you fooled, Tony, but hello, you don't have us fooled for 1 second. We took out Douglas's knee at the Omni, and he has become the weak link. And in a team going against us, you can't afford to have a weak link.
It's an obvious smokescreen, Schiavone. A crafty move by a cagey veteran. We know Douglas is hurt. The first kink in the champion's armor has been firmly established. Steamboat, your little ploy is going to backfire because today in this lumberjack match, the next step for the team of the 90s, the tag team immortality, is going to take place.
Okay, that's it from Austin and Pillman. We go back for tag action on TBS.
Austin popped me. Hello. It was like Back to the Future. McFly, anybody home? That's what I thought of that's why I laughed. Any thoughts on the promo?
They're good, man. I like those two together, and I know that Austin is not, the same thing as Foley. He's got work to do, but he's still so good.
Yeah. And remember, he's not completely happy at this time because he's mad that he's been put in a tag team. So, but you don't really see the boo-boo face right now. So I think that's a testament to him.
Sure.
And going with it. Next match, Doc. I wanted both teams to lose, and I was hoping it could be a double countout where losers leave town, both being losers. Tom Zink, the Z-Man, and Johnny Gunn are taking on the Wrecking Crew. And let me just tell you this before I throw to you and ask if you got something from this. The Wrecking Crew will be here through the end of July. And actually longer because they start doing worldwide tapings where they tape weeks and weeks of shows. So these dudes will be on WCW TV until late October, even though the last match was in like late July. Again, double count out, loser leaves town, please. Go ahead. What were you about to say?
This is like when the Washington Commanders play the Philadelphia Eagles.
I can't even say that, man.
Yeah, it's more like when, I don't know, you get to the end of the season and it's like a 5-10 team versus a 4-11 team.
Right. That's the better analogy because.
Yes, it's football, but I don't really give a shit.
That's yeah.
And I guess I'll watch it if I don't have anything else to do. Yeah. But okay, yeah, we're linked up. Can you do? I fast forwarded a lot of this, so I don't give a shit. But 4758. Can you give me Larry's audio?
Okay, so for the record, this went over 10 minutes.
Yeah, it was, yeah. So 4758, Larry had some audio. I don't remember what it was, but it was audio, and we're going to listen to it.
Okay, I'm at 4753. Here it is.
The cartilage breaking there, and the cauliflower ears coming from.
Oh, yeah. Well, once they get cauliflower, they're hard and they don't hurt. But in the meantime, try to sleep on them.
Okay.
We knew the Wrecking Crews.
So be ready to play that again. I fast forwarded right to that spot after the word cauliflower ear, and then so put cauliflower ear and pretend I don't hear that, and then the first thing I hear is what he says after that. So go ahead, rerun that.
Okay. All right. It's not letting me go to the right now.
Jesus.
Here it is. Hold on.
Oh, Oh, yeah. Well, once they get cauliflower, they're hard and they don't hurt. But in the meantime, try to sleep on them.
They're hard and they don't hurt. Try to sleep on them.
He knew the wrecking crew was really
I went back about 4 times to figure out what I missed because I popped myself there. Sorry.
You needed to pop something because this match wasn't popping shit.
No, can you go to 56:40 though? Because that's how long this shit goes.
Actually, that's right at the finish. So
I know.
Z-Man comes in and super kicks Rage.
Look at this.
That's what I was about to say.
Bruh.
Z-Man super kicks Rage. Then Rage goes to the top rope and he busts his ass.
God.
Lands on Johnny Gunn's
What
leg
the fuck?
and pins Johnny Gunn. Bruh, the funny part is when you first see, so it's super kick. So the dude no-sells the super kick and gets up on the top rope. I want you to watch his foot because his foot doesn't get caught. He just slips off the rope. Like that right foot just slips when he pushes off.
And we talk about this, and I mentioned it a few weeks ago, where a guy like Wyndham just scales up there and in one move comes off. That's why I say what Wyndham does is so great is that he's so smooth because it's not always that way.
The problem was he tried to push off the turnbuckle. Watch his foot. Watch his foot. Let me go back. He, instead of like putting that right foot on the rope, he steps on the turnbuckle, and the turnbuckle is slippery. Watch. Shoop.
He went right up the side.
He stepped on that slippery, smooth turnbuckle. It don't take much. There's sweat on it because he's been leaning on it with his arm, and whoop.
Whoopsie.
Take it from somebody who's done dumb shit in a wrestling ring. That's exactly what happened. He stepped on that turnbuckle instead of the rope and went to push off, and whoop, whoop. It slipped. Something Jaworski says all the time after giving his lady 3 seconds of heaven. All right. Up close and personal. I do have to play this, Doc. Any other thoughts on the Wrecking Crew and Tom Zink and Johnny Gunn?
No. At first, I wondered if we were at Classy Motors, but it didn't appear that we were.
We're going to go to Gordon Soley and Barry Windham. They're out and about.
On the town.
Up close and personal.
It's a beautiful, sunny, windswept afternoon here, and we're on special location. But tomorrow night, the atmosphere is going to be charged with total electricity and excitement as SuperBrawl 3 takes place. And in just a moment, we're going to be talking to Barry Windham. The man is going up against the great Muta in SuperBrawl 3 exclusively on pay-per-view for the NWA Heavyweight Championship. Barry, obviously, the NWA World Heavyweight Championship has a grand history behind it. You talk about people like Lou Thez, Dusty Rhodes, Jack Briscoe, but most of all, Ric Flair, the man who's held it the most times, 8 times in his career. Obviously, this man has to be an idol of yours.
First of all, Gordon, I didn't come here to talk about Ric Flair, and I don't have any kind of comment about Flair. And what I came here to talk about, the reason you're standing out here on the street, is so that we can talk about Muta. So let's talk about the great Muta right now, all right?
Well, all right, if that's what you want to do and you don't want to talk about Flair, let's talk about the great Muta then. Let's talk about Battle Bowl in Starrcade 92. There were 2 of you left. He won.
Listen, Gordon, I don't have to make excuses at all. And he didn't beat me. He drop kicked me out over the top rope. He never pinned me. Now, Muta is the NWA champion at this time. And granted, he did win the Battle Bowl. He won the ring. Now, that's something that's new. It's something that matters to a lot of people. And at that time, it meant something to me. But it is not on scale with me with the NWA championship. The NWA championship is something that I've trained for my entire life, and it's something that I want.
Well, there's no question in my mind after watching you drive up and watching you compete in the last few weeks that you're obviously in the peak of condition. Bear in mind, however, that Muta did defeat Chono to win the NWA title, and that was a major accomplishment.
I believe that the people in Japan thought that Chono was undefeatable. Muta is as good a wrestler as they get. He is the NWA heavyweight champion. But we've been over this, Gordon. We're here to talk about Muta, and we're here to talk about me for the NWA heavyweight championship match. Muta defeated me at Battle Bowl. We've already been over that. The NWA championship is something completely different, Gordon. You've been around me long enough to know that this is something that I've always wanted throughout my whole career. The NWA championship is something that has been around the waist of many great men, and Muta is one of them. But his day has come to leave town without the belt. The championship is going to be around my waist because it's something that I've been destined to have, and it's something that I've trained my entire career.
Okay, it froze up. But that we got to the point that I wanted to get to, Doc, which was, did you catch Barry basically bury the Battle Bowl ring that they so highly touted as like a major thing at Starrcade?
Yeah, and I also heard him like basically say, "I don't want to talk about Flair," you know?
Well, yeah, and that's going to become a theme over the next several months, where he basically, anytime anybody asks him about Flair, he walks off and tells them to go stick it.
Okay.
So that's not good. That's what he's gonna do. I actually think they botched that angle a little bit because it doesn't grow legs. But we can talk about that as we get there. But he buried Battle Bowl. He buried the ring. He's like, look, everybody acts like that ring is something. Man, that ring ain't nothing, man. The title is a thing. And the funny part is we said that. I don't think you were on those shows, but we said that when we were reviewing it. I
Yeah.
can't remember. Did you do Starrcade with us or no?
Yeah. We were like, who
Okay.
gives a shit?
Yeah, nobody gives about that damn ring. So what? Anyway, I actually thought this was pretty good. It went too long.
It went too long and
but
he rambled a little bit and kept repeating himself. But
yeah,
I mean, you're out in the street. It's a weird location. He gets a little bit of a pass.
agree.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely agree. All right. On that note, we go to the main event. Brian Pillman is taking on Ricky Steamboat. It is a lumberjack match. They started this match with about 22 minutes of TV time left, so minus commercials. So they left a lot there. Boy, they botched some things too, because the finish takes place during commercial break, but I'll get to that in a minute. Let me ask you if you got anything from this.
Man, they play Ricky's song. It's still terrible.
Oh my God. Somebody sent me an email and said, Chris Harper doesn't know what he's talking about. Ricky is still married to Bonnie right now. So I don't know. Because remember when he was like saying that, I looked it up. He's not married to Bonnie anymore at this moment, but somebody said he is. I don't really know. I don't know if it's important, but he is a family man.
He is a family man, that's for sure.
Oh,
The
boy.
four, all I like the little standoff they have where all four of them get in the ring at the beginning. Probably not legal, but it's okay to bend that rule to kind of show these tag teams off like that.
Yeah.
Man, I like lumberjack matches when you do them real sparingly. And the other thing is that, I'm always waiting in that scenario for the lumberjacks to get wild with one another and have it all break down. But, I used to love it in like world class because you'd have Gordy or somebody out there as a lumberjack. You get thrown out there, he's going to start throwing them bombs from Freebird Mountain.
My favorite was the lumberjack strap match.
Sure,
Meaning
why
that
not?
the lumberjacks all had straps.
Strap them up.
You roll to the outside, your ass is getting tagged.
You get the fuck back in real quick.
Yeah.
Ain't got time to get strapped. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
That hurts.
Yeah.
The lumberjacks are into it, but they're also not killing each other. So, then we went into a slow sequence with the headlock.
All right, I need to tell you something about lumberjacks because Crockett and I just had this discussion about lumberjacks. We did a review of UWF Blackjack Brawl '94, which is probably the worst live sporting event ever.
That sounds tremendous.
It was horrible. 3 hours of
thanks
just
for leaving me
stupidity.
out of that. I mean,
You're
I know
welcome.
I know you didn't ask, but I didn't ask either.
And lumberjacks, you said, it's always wild when the lumberjacks start getting into it with each other. Lumberjacks should not get into it with each other unless there's some specific angle that's trying to be played out. The Lumberjacks, if they get into it with each other, the problem is they take the attention away from the match and put it on them, the heat on them. So the
that was my
old rule
question.
used to be no contact between Lumberjacks.
So that's my question here. And so is it because Austin and Douglas are 1-2 that it kind of spirals into that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they really don't do it too, like, I mean, they kind of get wild with it at the end of this, so I'm trying not to be too critical because I'm thinking of the guys involved in it, like Austin, and I mean, like there's some major heavyweights here that are only going to do what they think is best. So, but just in general, like in the middle of a match, like if Steamboat and Pillman are working, and somebody gets thrown out and the Lumberjacks throw him back in, the Lumberjacks should not just start throwing blows and just continue to keep fighting. Like if they do touch, they used to use the term touch. If they do start to kind of maybe mix it up, separate quickly. Don't keep doing it because the heat is not supposed to be on you. The heat is supposed to be what's going on in the ring with the two opponents, with the two competitors. That's where I'm going with that.
There's a Boston Crab.
Was that we were just watching it.
Is that painful?
Yeah, if somebody sits down on your back and literally, I'm going to use the term, cranks on you.
Whoa.
See, that's what Austin was trying to do. He was trying to push Pillman's head back as almost leverage. See, like that kind of heat right there is fine.
I love it.
And then Cactus trying to say, hey, no, you can't do that. But you notice how they're just pulling each other away. Nobody's really like fighting.
Right. And I really liked Austin. I thought Austin was great in this match, doing stuff to get involved and help out. In fact, so they got Douglas out there limping around, but let's go to, I can't see the time, 1:17:40, because I thought something else Austin does. You see him hiding, he comes back around. He's going to come back around the left side of the screen underneath by the apron. He's out there working. He's hiding behind Shangy.
See, to me, the Lumberjacks are doing too much right there.
Maybe.
All that fighting and scrapping.
On what Austin was doing.
That's true, too. He's playing duck, duck, goose, man. He's playing hide and go seek as he comes around the ring. Yeah. All right. What else you got from it? Because they end up, they're eating up innings. Like, I'm not trying to poo-poo on these two because I love them both, but they're eating up innings right now. Nothing's happening in the ring.
Right.
Nothing's happening.
That's very true. And so they go to commercial. Yeah. And they come back, and for the first time I can remember, they say we had a decision in the commercial break.
Yeah, so the finish ends up taking place like Doc said during a commercial. So the finish is Pillman grabs Steamboat's tights and Steamboat goes to the outside, throws him to the outside. Steamboat starts getting beat up by all the Lumberjacks. And then the Lumberjacks all start brawling with each other. Austin then ends up in the ring. Steamboat clotheslines Austin, and then Steamboat rolls up Pillman and wins by pin as the Lumberjacks all fight on the outside. I don't know if, I don't like this finish because it's very distracting. Too much is going on the outside when inside the ring, you got a finish happening. And at least the cameraman right there kind of went to the ring, but then even now they're on that wide shot as the Lumberjacks all fight and Steamboat rolls up Pillman. I don't know.
I thought they said it happened during the break. I thought they said it happened during the break, but then they went longer than the break would have lasted. That's what didn't make sense to me.
Oh, I took this as they were showing what happened during the break.
I know, but it took longer than the break would have taken. So how did it happen during the break?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I can't answer. This is WCW. I mean,
Yeah, I got you. Now, my question, here's my thing about all of it. I don't really care, and I know what we're doing, and I'm here for it, and we're good, and whatever. But to me, I thought Pillman should have won that because Austin kind of got made you know, to look like a goof.
I'm not going to disagree with you.
And so if we're going to present them as legitimate contenders to Douglas and Steamboat, they need to do something.
Yeah, you ain't going to get an argument from me.
I mean, we know them to be legitimate contenders because we know what they become, but we're trying to build them in that moment.
Yeah.
Tired of having to book this shit for them.
I know, man. They need to call
tiring.
us.
Good thing we're near the end of the episode, man. I'm tired.
So on that note, that's how they wrap up the show. They do the hard sell on the pay-per-view and tell us to call the local cable operators. Before we rate the show and hand out the Toot Toot or Rolex Award, a word from AI Jim Ross.
It's almost time to rate this show and hand out the Rolex or Toot Toot Award. Before the fellas do that, don't forget to become a BTT Patreon member by going to tinyurl.com/PatreonBTT. When you sign up, you'll get tons of extra shows. There are 400 plus Patreon shows, including video versions of the main shows, the world-class shows with Lance and Mike, the NWA Legacy cast with Sparks and the Lil Fella Half Pint, and the ECW shows with Mike Prue, Rick BB, and JV. Additionally, Mike and Doc have covered many episodes of Dark Side of the Ring and Tales from the Territories on Vice. You'll also get reviews of all of the Clash of the Champions specials up until where the guys are currently at, and all of the WCW pay-per-views as well through this current time period. All of that and much more for just a few bucks a month. Don't wait. Sign up now and get all of that sweet extra audio gold from the best damn Outlaw Mud Show podcast on the planet.
All right, Doc. So it's time to rate it. Hand out the Rolex Toot Toot. This is a hard one to rate. What are you going to rate it?
Look, it's not terrible, but it's not great. And that's disappointing because it's a go-home show and the way we think of them. I'm going to say B.
I think you're right on. I gave it a B as well.
I know your gimmick, by the way. You just say whatever I say these days.
No, because when I disagree, then you tell me I like wrestling. You don't like it. You're being hard on this.
Well, I do like wrestling. That's one thing that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a B. I almost went B minus to be honest with you, but I'll give it a B.
I thought about a B minus too, but that felt like too harsh.
Who are you giving your Toot Toot Award or Rolex to?
This is actually harder to me than rating it because we're eating innings, and that's a different concept than getting out there and standing out. But I'm going to tell you, I really appreciated that Austin worked hard during that lumberjack match, so I'm going with Stone Cold.
This one was very hard. I'm going to give it, even though he went too long, I'm going to give it to Barry because I thought his point about the Battle Bull ring was hilarious because I don't know if the intent was to bury it and make it seem meaningless, but he certainly did. He's like, that shit don't matter. The NWA world title does. I thought that was phenomenal. So I given mine to Barry because I thought he was good. All right. Before we wrap up, one other word from AI Jim Ross about if you want your question answered by Hardbody Harper.
Harper is crying broke after AI Bill Watts fined him $69,000 and banned the Coyote. And we keep hearing that you all want Harper to answer questions on the main show. Harper is ready to take your questions. Grab a pen and paper because here comes some directions. If you want your question or questions answered, first send Harper $5 per question to his PayPal at cc30388cc@yahoo.com. After you send Harper that sweet, sweet cheddar, email your question or questions to Chris Harper, 16wildcat@gmail.com. That's wildcat with a K, and BookingTheTerritory@gmail.com. Also, make sure you state in your email what your name is and what your PayPal address is that you sent the money from. Remember, one question per $5. Kids, get your parents' permission before sending your cheddar and emailing your questions. Lastly, if you missed the PayPal or email addresses, check the show notes and description for the details.
All right, Doc. So before we get out of here and ride off into the sunset on our Kawasaki Mule, as Austin used to do on his show when it was a thing, Any other thoughts before we load up the Boogie Mobile and head to Super Brawl 3?
No, we're the next time we get together, it will be so that we can review the pay-per-view, the White Castle of Fear. I'm gonna bring some sliders to the party, little burgers as a no. We'll have Harper hopefully, unless something changes that we don't know about now. And yeah, let's do it, man.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. Remember, tinyurl.com/PatreonBTT is where you can listen to it. Before I get out of here, just a quick reminder, when you see me post a show on X or Twitter or Facebook, please share and repost the show. I also I haven't been on it much, but I built one of those Threads accounts for the BTT show because
I don't even know what that means.
But so Threads is a thing. It's basically the what's his name? Zuckerberg version of Twitter. Anyway, so if you're on there, repost the show on Threads because I guess I am trying to grow that. I post the shows there, not really much else, but yeah, that greatly helps as well. Look, it costs money to be a patron, obviously, but it costs nothing to share the show on social media. So please, whatever platform you're on, whenever the show is posted, please share, please retweet, repost, whatever they call it now. It greatly helps the show. And if you're still listening to this on YouTube at this point in the show, like the show and subscribe to the channel. It greatly helps the show grow. On that note, we're going to get out of here. When you hear from us next, it'll be on Patreon if you're a patron, as we cover Super Brawl 3. On that note, Doc, hit the tagline since Harper's not here.
How about them cow? Oh, book it, bitch.
Congratulations on making it to the end of this week's show. Don't forget to send your comments about what the guys discussed tonight to Luke Hawks on Facebook and on Twitter or X or whatever the piss they call it now. The rumor is Luke likes answering BTT fan mail. Also, do the guys a solid by liking the show's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages. And don't forget to like and retweet or repost the show on all social media platforms. Lastly, become a BTT patron member where you get tons of extra shows. You can join at tinyurl.com/BTT Patreon. Until next week, so long, everybody.